always with the caution, but always with the caution of not allowing them to become rote. And so I wish to say thank you to the Indigenous people for accommodating and hosting me and my family and many other non-Indigenous, non-Métis, and non-Inuit people who are guests and have been guests for a very long time on this land. I continue to work and play on land that has been stolen, and with very few barriers to me doing that activity. And I continue to not find a satisfactory way to change the circumstances of injustice toward the first people of this land. I commit to ongoing education, action, and prayer so that I may find a way. I'm just going to stop for a moment for some silence and offer that silence of a way of respecting the land and all the people and the prayers that can be asked in this direction. So please join me for a short moment of silence as you consider reconciliation on the land from where you live. Welcome again. I am Kathy Douglas, and I am the Faith Formation Minister and one of the staff support to the Discipleship and Justice Commission in the 3 regions of Southwestern Ontario in the United Church of Canada. The Discipleship and Justice Commissions in our 3 regions are the commissions that receive and process and decide the mission support grants each year. There will be others speaking on this call, and when their time comes, I'll invite them to introduce themselves before they begin. But collectively as staff, we hope to be supportive in this work of sharing and supporting the ministries that you do, sharing the resources to support the ministries that you do. I will acknowledge Michelle Pettick because she probably won't have much to say, but she can, who's doing the tech for this event. And she has prepared the slides and will be posting the recording of this on our social media platforms for all those who are not able to be here, or if any of you want to watch this again. So thank you, Michelle. It's good you're here. And thanks for taking time to be here at this moment. And if you're watching it later, thank you for the time you're putting into watching. As well, on behalf of the church and the region, I'm going to thank you for your ministries and for applying for funding to keep your ministries alive and well. We are richer for your work. So much gratitude for all that you do. Okay, Michelle, I'll let you start the slides, please. So this is hopefully support in the mission support grant writing process that you will be soon taking part in. And we hope it offers you some best practices in submitting and writing and securing the grants in our 3 regions. And I'll let you move on to the next slide, Michelle. In this workshop, can we go to the next one? I don't know, Michelle, are you hearing me? Is this moving on for you folks?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I need to go backwards. We need to go back.
Sorry. Sure.
There you go.
Excellent. So this is what we hope to accomplish in this workshop, and we're kind of keeping it tight because we really want people to watch it and watch it in its full. We're going to review the purposes and expectation and the future of mission support grants, review an application the application process, look at the timelines and the checklist, and then also share a stewardship worship moment as well. And I'll have the next one. Thanks. So I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl-Ann.
Thank you, Kathy. And I'll try and stay on topic and not get sidetracked with visiting. I want to echo the gratitude that Kathy expressed for the way in which you are the church living out our ministry in your various sites. Mission support grants are the local expression of the Mission and Service Fund. So as we think about mission support grants, one of the things that I find helpful to think about is the trust the donors have given us by forwarding this donation to us. What is it that the donor halfway across the country was imagining we would be doing with this resource to be the church where we are? Next slide, please, Michelle. The Mission and Service Fund at work in Canada occurs through regional councils. The 16 regional councils each receive an equal grant, and they determine how we will put the Mission and Service Fund into work in the local setting. Next slide, please, Michelle. Thank you. In Antler River Watershed, Western Ontario Waterways, and Horseshoe Falls, the grant helps us do two things. One, part of it helps support staff. We use mission and service dollars to fund the minister faith formation portfolio, the minister's social justice. The social justice portion of Thérèse's portfolio is funded with Mission and Service, and we have just recruited John Egger, who is also funded with Mission and Service. And on this call, you will see our administrative assistant who handles discipleship and office site management, Ruth Anna Mack, and 50% of her position is funded through our Mission and Service grant. Because our three regional councils have determined that we'll work in collaboration, we're able to have specialized positions because we're sharing the costs. And then the balance of the fund goes towards mission support grants. Each year, the executive determines the budget, is clear what amount is available, and advises the Discipleship and Justice Commission that that amount is available for them to consider applications and award grants. Next slide, please, Michelle. Oh, sorry. So I'll just talk about the two general council pieces. So I think one of the things, we could actually take the slide off for a minute, Michelle, and I'll see if I can pull up in the background. One of the things that we are aware of right now is that the United Church is re-examining all of its granting processes. And it is doing that based on the new strategic plan. The church has reached a point where it has said, we have set these priorities so that we can live into this vision of deep spirituality, bold discipleship, and daring justice. And out of these priorities, we are going to streamline our grants so they meet the emphasis that we are placing on different elements of our work. And there are 5 key areas of emphasis in the work. One is the common good, and some of that work is items like the new I'll answer that in a second, Jane. One of them is the new insurance plan that's come out through the common good. So it's one way of saying, what can we do together for the benefit of all that expedites things and creates efficiency and economies? Another is leadership. How are we raising up our leadership for this time? Another is climate justice. And Another is justice work. And the fifth and final one is growth, a commitment to growth. So as you're thinking about your mission support applications for this year, I encourage you to read up on the United Church's strategic plan and indicate, as you prepare your report, how what you're doing aligns with that plan. In terms of the amount left, so we preserve roughly about 60% of our mission and service grant for grants that we give out in mission support grants. It's over 50% of it, of what we receive. So we receive, in the past, we have received 240,000. And we've donated anywhere, depending on regional council to regional council, 135 to 140,000 in the last granting cycle. Mission and service is an amount we're not sure what we will have. We won't know until early in the fall, late summer or early fall, what our grant will be for 2024. And I will hand it over for the application process.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl-Ann. I just wonder if folks, I want you to know you're going to have a chance to ask questions. So if you can wait, that's good. That would be helpful, but feel free to put your questions in the chat as well. That way we can collect them and make sure we get them. Michelle, do you want us to? I'm just checking about where we're at with the slides.
What are you seeing on your screen right now?
We're seeing the beginning of the slides with the pieces down the side.
Okay, let's see where we can go. I think I'm gonna have to stop share before I can resume. Just one sec.
Okay, just a piece of information. We've been in the midst of a lot of spring gatherings, so this was a bit of a quick, let's make sure we have everything. So I really appreciate Michelle had a lot to do. She's cleaned up this, and it's coming.
You're being very kind, Kathy.
Oh wow!
Just give me a second here. I gotta figure this out again. Let's go. Let's try this one.
Thanks, Cheryl-Ann. She's put there's some things in the chat there. They're answering questions automatically there.
Okay, are you folks seeing my email?
Yep,
Oh.
Not your email. No. No.
Okay, let's see.
We saw the.
We did see the PowerPoint for a minute there, just maybe while you're organizing that, Michelle, I did want to point out that I'm just looking to see if I can find this word right now. Stephen Iverson was on the call.
Yes, he's here.
Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, Stephen. Stephen is our colleague at the General Council in the Stewardship and Gifts Unit, and if you're connected with a congregation that you would like to encourage to become more involved with mission and service or to grow their stewardship projects, Stephen's the person you need to touch base with.
And we're going to hear from Stephen in this call too. Okay, so the application process, many of you will know this already, but the way we are, as staff, we've been learning and hopefully getting better at this, and we appreciate your patience with us when we seem like we're not responsive as quickly as you'd like. But past applicants should receive an email. If they've applied before, we hope to send out an email to tell you the application process is in beginning. We'll also be posting it on our website and the Facebook pages and the newsletters. And if any of you are not getting newsletters or are having trouble with connecting to those sites, do let us know. We'll be happy to make sure you get a newsletter. Word of mouth is a powerful tool. Make sure you tell people about this, that the process is open and that these grants are available. And we would gladly take suggestions from you on how we get the word out when the application's open and telling people about it. Next slide, please. So Thérèse, go ahead.
There we go. I just need to get my slideshow started. And you should be able to see the slideshow. Oh, I don't need to move it. It's going to automatically move when I get it started. Okay. So my name is Thérèse Samuel. I use the pronouns she and her, and I serve as Minister for Right Relations and Social Justice for the 3 regions of Antler River Watershed, Horseshoe Falls, and Western Ontario Waterways. And so the social justice part of my portfolio, which is half of my time, is funded by mission and service. And I'm just going to go through the application form itself. And so I've got some screenshots of the application form. I'll highlight a few things. It's fairly straightforward. It's the form has 4 pages of things to fill in. And if you have any trouble with it or if anything's confusing, please send us a note and let us know, ask us for clarification, but it also helps us when we are updating this form each year. So there are 6 sections, 7 sections. And as you can see, pastoral charge, all applicants complete A, E, and G. Pastoral charges also complete the sections that are relate to their demographics and funds, and the outreach ministries complete section F. And I've highlighted include all supporting documents. It's really important that you put this all in as one document, preferably in a PDF format. If you're having a little bit of trouble with that, again, send us a note and we'll kind of talk you through the process and find a way to make it doable. But please don't send separate emails with separate pieces, because that increases the likelihood, the possibility that something might go amiss or get put accidentally with the wrong application. So please send it all in one document and include all the supporting documents. That includes the banking information. We'll get to that in a minute. The deadline for that for this year is going to be October 2nd, 8:30 a.m. on that morning. So you've got a month more than we had in the past. We asked for the contact persons. I'm going to just give myself a little pointer. So we asked for a contact person's name, phone number, and email address. Sometimes, please, again, don't assume that we have it from previous years if you've put in applications before. Sometimes the past information we've had is actually not what you think we had, and it's not accurate. If you only have a phone number and not an email address, or email address, not a phone number, if you could possibly put someone else, if there's a secondary person that you can put for the other one, and just let us know who that is, just so that we've got 2 ways to get in touch with you in case we have any questions. Identification, please check which regional council you're applying to. That's usually the regional council that you're in. For organizations that offer ministry across more than one regional council that might be applying to more than one regional council, please send in a separate application for each regional council. And then just straightforward name of the applying organization, full mailing address, and name and title of the program. If you, most applicants are applying for a particular program and not just the overall organization. So if there's a particular program, please do indicate that. If you have a website or Facebook page, please put that as well. That is something that if the Discipleship and Justice Commission is looking for a little bit more information, it just makes it easy to have it accessible for them at that time. So not guarantee that they're going to look there, but if you've got it, it would be helpful to provide it. Charitable status number, it's really required that you be a charitable status, a charitable organization. So please do that. Direct deposit information. Can't stress this enough, particularly for organizations that have done this before. In the past, I think the practice was to just say on file and to not send that information. That, as of last year, that is not how we're doing that anymore. We do need you to send in the direct deposit information each time you apply. So please, that checking yes is just for your internal tracking to make sure that you remember that you have actually done that. And the type of ministry that you are, if you're a pastoral charge, you would check this one. And again, a reminder of which sections to fill in. Outreach ministry, if you're not a pastoral charge, you're an outreach ministry. And the next few sections apply to pastoral charges. You should be used to, your pastoral charge should be used to collecting this information because it's sent in for your annual statistics. So I'm not going to go into that in detail, but we're looking for some of the statistics and some financial information. And then section E, which is a section that everybody fills out, asks for financial statements, budgets, and program information. So we ask you to send in your most recent fiscal year's financial statement and approved budget. And this needs to be an audited or reviewed financial statement. And the note from the auditor and the reviewer, or the reviewer. So that's the most recent fiscal year. And we also ask for your proposed budget for 2024. This is the application for the 2024 grants. We'll ask for your current and complete financial statement. So that's your bank balances, investments, your assets and liabilities, and your current approved budget, and any restrictions on the use of any funds that you have. So for each fund that has restrictions, please indicate what those restrictions are. And if there are any other sources of income that you have. And then section E is the place where you'll put the narrative about what your organization does and what you plan to do with the money. So put as much information here as you think we might need for the Discipleship and Justice Commission might need to make their decisions. So the context in which your ministry is situated, give a description of the program or activity for which the grant will be applied. And if there's something in particular, if it's going towards a specific salaries or specific program materials, please be as clear as you can about that. Why you're applying for the grant, that's just gives you room to give a little bit more background and explanation. And this is a good place to put in, to connect it to the strategic objectives. How many years you will anticipate needing this grant and the financial plan to decrease the grant in future years. In general, we don't have unlimited amounts of money, and in the mission support grant, and the amount of funds that are available have been reducing each year. And so we really strongly encourage you to have plans in place for ongoing sustainability that does not rely on the mission support grant, if in any way that is possible for you. So that financial plan about how you will decrease your reliance on the grant might be a really significant piece for the commission in making its decision. And the effect on your ministry if the requested amount is not granted. So that this one sometimes has not been quite clear to folks. So please just think about what will be missing, what you will not be able to do, what you'll not be able to offer, what benefits to the community will not be there if your program does not receive this funding from this grant. And of course, how you will recognize shouldn't be past tense. It should be how you will recognize support from the United Church of Canada within your organization and in your community. We'll also ask for the financial support history. So the first line is if you've received mission support grants in the past, the number of years that you've received that and the amount 2 years ago and last year. And for other grants from the same regional council, if you have received grants other than mission support, you put that in the second line. So in this section, there are two places to put the same information. So the amount that's being requested goes here, and just clarifying what the grant year is. And then that amount being requested again goes down here. So this little square is for your board or council, not assuming that they are the ones filling out the rest of the form, but there does need to be action on behalf of your governing body to officially request the funds from the grant. So this is for that person to complete, ensuring that if you can check the tick boxes, the project reflects the activities you're proposing, and that the funds will be spent in accordance with the purpose outlined in the application. So they fill in the amount and sign and give the date of the board action. So the date that the motion was passed for this to go through. And office held is the office held by the person that is signing this part of the form. And the last piece on the very bottom of the last page of the application, we remind you to be prepared to share your story. So find somebody who likes to write and loves the ministry that you're doing, and to provide a really short story. Send us some photos, and please submit this electronically to us. Make sure that if you have anybody in the photos, you've got written permission from them, and we will contact you if and get permission if we do want to use any of those photos. The stories and photos could be used in United Church publications, websites, and other places. So that is all explained on the form. I've got time for questions on there, but I'm just going to stop the share. And I think Kathy had asked if we can hold the questions till after. Is that what you want to do? I'm going to hand it back to Kathy.
The questions are coming in the chat, so that's good. Keep them in the chat. I think we'll just continue here. It's just a quick review. There's nothing much more as far it's a checklist. When you send your application, and it will be coming to my email, one of the first things you should get to is a letter right away back to you saying, we've received it, and here are the things again that we hope are in the form. Sorry, I'm going to get you back. And although it's the same things, the void check is really important, or the bank materials. I'll let you jump to the next one. I don't think I need to repeat everything. Thérèse did a lot there. We'll go for another one. Yep, we'll keep going. That was covered. And again, I'm going to reiterate, the commissioners who are reviewing this on the Discipleship and Justice Commission, remember, it's maybe the very first time or the only way they know about what you're doing. So do tell them and make it, or help them to know in a way that's really, it brings to life your ministry and the difference it makes in the world. Next one. I did want to, I know you're hearing priorities. These are some more priorities particular to the Discipleship and Justice Commission work. We are looking at social justice and outreach, camps and youth, and living into right relations. So that's a piece of what the Discipleship and Justice Commissions have named as their priorities. And I'll have you go to the next one, please. And again, one email would be so helpful, and a PDF of it all in one document would be even greater. So I'm re-emphasizing that. Thank you. Our application process is opening very soon. We've said June 1st, they can start to come in. The closing, I didn't have this filled in when we put this together. Thérèse mentioned it. It's October 2nd.
Yes.
That they're going to close. We do not know when the commissions will meet and make a decision. I wish we could tell you that. And we don't know when we'll notify you yet. So don't hesitate if you're wondering, you can reach out, but we don't have those dates just yet. Next. So let's have some questions, and we'll look through what's being in the chat as well, but feel free if you want to raise your hands. I noticed, Jan, you had your hand up. So would you like to unmute and ask a few questions?
Yeah, I just really had one question. I filled in the application last year and we were successful. Thank you. I'm here in Owen Sound, Ontario, Bravery Spiritual Care Council. I'm a United Church minister, but also manager for spiritual care in this health area. And so anyways, last year was my first time at filling in the application. And I was just wondering if, and maybe it'll be in this year's application, but I remember sending it in and then later receiving an email from you, Kathy, that said, you also need to include the charitable status number, a void check, which those things are not listed in the application form as being required. So I just wondered if they could be listed someplace as being required in the overall documentation. They have all the financial stuff, but the charitable status number and the void check, I think, was the other thing that isn't mentioned in the application form. So those could just be included. That would help sort of get the package together, I think.
Okay, I'm pretty sure they are, Jan.
They are
Yeah.
on the application form. And the screens that I showed you were actual screenshots from the application form, and it's basically the same as previous years. So they are on the application form.
All right, they are. I'm sorry. Never mind.
That's okay. Good for us to make sure. That's why we're doing this. Thank you.
There's something that was missing, but I don't know what. Anyway.
Well, feel free to, we'll come back to you if you have it again. I'm going to jump to Adam.
Yeah, this was something that was actually answered for me by Andrew on this weekend, but I thought I'd voice it because it might be helpful for other people. And it might also be listed in the form, and maybe I missed it too. But to know that the disbursements are quarterly, I think is what Andrew just explained to me. And so I think that's helpful too in for applicants who are planning how they structure their budget, and then also for treasurers at churches so that they know when things are rolling in. So again, that might already be listed, but just in case it isn't. That was a helpful thing for me to know as a past applicant and future one.
Thank you. That we could add that, and thanks for bringing that up.
I also think it's important to be aware that if a congregation is applying for the grant to run a program, and that program involves staffing, they need to have had those staffing positions approved in the way in which congregations get positions approved. So they either need to have had a congregational designated ministry position approved by the Human Resources Commission of the Regional Council, or a ministry position approved and set up on Church Hub. Just to be aware that there isn't, that congregations who have staff doing ministry activities have a particular way they need to get a position authorized. And we're happy to give more detail on that. I don't think we need to go into it a lot now, but it is a place where we realize not everyone understood that.
Thank you. I'm going to come to you, Bill, in 1 second, but I thought I'd jump to one of the questions in the chat. Jan wondered about what was left after the salaries. Do you want to answer that, Cheryl-Ann? I don't think it was. Did you see? Just wondering what is left of the mission and
Yeah, I did
M&S.
explain
Oh,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, I did explain that
Okay.
we get 240,000. We give out about 140,000 of that.
Thank you. Another question in the chat was, do restricted funds include funds held in reserve for debt payments? Was that responded to?
Yes, Golda and I had a bit more. It was about the SEBA loan. We look at the SEBA loan differently. A great deal depends on how you collected the money and what you designated its purpose for. So if you collected it to pay down debt or for a capital project, then you must use it for that. If your board said we'd like to hold X in reserve, that's a different matter.
And I see Laura Swan asked something and you've responded. Is that clear enough for everybody? Or should we speak it? Is the purpose of the grant for relief that would need to be decreased, or growth that needs support?
So what I had responded to Laura is, I think we need to, that we have another purpose as we talk about looking at the grants. And that is to say, we want these ministries not to be dependent upon the grants, because the grants are not dependable long-term. And we want these ministries to be able to have a plan in place to sustain themselves if there wasn't a grant available.
Thank you. I'll go over to the question. Bill, you have your hand up and we can look at the others in a minute.
Yes, do all three regions applications go to you?
Kathy Douglas, yeah, they're coming
Yeah.
to my email.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, that was easy, Bill. Thanks for the sweet question.
Are there other questions in the chat that folks? Oh, sorry, Eric, you've got your hand up. Sorry, I missed that.
So I have a unique problem. Well, not necessarily a problem. It's good because in ways we're well funded by different churches, including the Christian Reformed Church, including the many different organizations that we've been working with for the last basically 14 years of our ministry. But one of the big things that I like about that we can apply for a mission support grant is it shows the rest of our funders that this is a valued ministry of the United Church of Canada. And our Christian Reformed folks have actually taken us from $2,500 to $5,000, now to $7,500 over the last 5 or 6 years. And I know because of circumstances, the United Church has had to back off. So my concern is, how can I still show our donors that this is an extremely viable mission of the United Church of Canada without I don't want to say without applying, but without okay, I'll just leave it open. How do we show that without applying?
So I think, Eric, it's a good question, and I think you apply and you let the commission make the decision about
I
what
can
they're
do
able
that.
to fund and what should, and what the priority should be. Like we need to trust the commission's wisdom on how they will sort that out. I also think, though, remember, wherever you can secure support for your ministry from local United Church congregations, and I am aware of the kind of financial stress many local congregations are under. So please, I'm not insensitive to that, but that is also, do not lose sight of the fact that the people who are closest to you know your ministry best and probably care about it most.
Absolutely. And one of the things was that was also very supported by Kent Presbytery, because they knew how important this ministry is. So, and I know that last year, Andrew and I had a conversation, Andrew's on the team, had a conversation about, where can we meet in the center so that we still show support, but not being over supportive. And I know we're in a kind of a unique situation, but that unique situation's only been the last 5 years. The first 10 years of our ministry, we struggled like crazy to get things trucking and moving and whatever else. So that's just a unique problem that I deal with. But I appreciate still apply and let the decision come from the commission. I'm good with that.
Thanks, Eric. I am hoping my teammates are looking at the questions too. I'm going to the last one from Laura about if we prioritize them or put them into categories when we get to the commissions. The commissions make the decisions on how they're going to do it. I would say that is not necessarily how the decisions are made by putting them into priorities. Would anybody else want to?
Well, you did mention that the priorities for the region were
right.
social justice and outreach, youth
Right.
camps, and I missed the third one again before they moved it on.
So,
Indigenous justice.
and I'll just
Okay, thank you.
highlight for you that each of the regions has a different set of priorities for mission and service. So if you go to the website for each region, in the About page, scroll down close to the bottom, there will be a little chart that says their priorities for mission and service. Under that, there will be probably, for most of them, I think it's 3 priorities. So depending on which regional council you're applying to, those priorities might be different.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Thérèse and Kathy. I think I'm just wondering if the funds that are being allocated to give out are being distributed into the priority categories. Like if I'm applying as a camp, am I only going to be considered for the funds that have been designated for camps, or will they look at the application and go, no, that's a justice priority, and so we're going to fund it that way?
It's all one pot. There's not
Okay.
separate money for camps and separate money for other priorities. So they
Okay.
just look at them as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
I would say that when the regional council started, one of their goals was to make sure that ministries that had been important in the presbyteries were not lost. So that was an early goal. I think now, as we have more and more pressure on the mission and service fund, and I wish that wasn't the case, but in that reality, now we need to begin to look at what are the ways in which we will make some of the difficult decisions we anticipate. And some of those are, what are the regional council's named priorities? And also then, what are the priorities of the strategic plan?
I'm going to do a quick check. Has anybody seen questions that haven't been answered, or are there more questions that we think it's good that these are on the recording because folks that are watching this will have similar questions, but did we catch them all? Thank you. Don't hesitate to reach out, and especially don't hesitate to offer us. Oh, sorry, John Baxter, go ahead.
I was just mentioning my question about a PDF would be very useful so that I can walk the council, our church council, through the some of the bullet points without taking over our council meeting for an hour-long presentation.
Of this event, of what we're doing here today.
Yeah, certainly I would welcome them. I would share the link so that they could watch the whole thing, but a PDF just for the bullet points would be useful.
Sure, we'll prepare that for you. No problem.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate your input. It is a relationship that we're working with, and the commissioners are folks like you. In fact, some of you are on the commission, so thank you. We do, and we would welcome your wisdom on our commissions too anytime if any of you feel you have the time and the energy to be on some of on the Discipleship and Justice Commission. They are dedicated people, and especially during the time of going through the mission support grants, they give a lot of time and consideration to figuring out how to share the wealth and the generosity. I am going to turn this over now to Stephen Iverson and have him share a closing with us.
Thank you, Kathy. Just a quick raise your hand if you've heard anything about Called to Be the Church. Maybe yes, maybe no. Many of your questions today really resonate with what I, along with my colleagues across the country, are doing. I am the Stewardship Program Coordinator for your region. And we are doing work with congregations, with outreach ministries around stewardship. I've got a couple of brief slides that I'm going to share with you to introduce you to Called to Be the Church and stewardship, a little bit about what we do. So hopefully actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share my screen, Michelle, if that's okay. In listening to our conversation today, I've kind of just changed a little bit about what I'm planning on. We'll do this. And I'm hoping that's up for everyone. Is it?
No.
Yes? No?
Not yet, Stephen.
No.
Not for
yet.
me.
Okay. Oh, here we go here. How about we try this one?
Looking good. Yeah,
There
How's
you are.
that? A little bit better?
much better.
Excellent. So, Called to Be the Church is an initiative that has been put forward by the General Council to assist congregations and outreach ministries not only learn and reconnect, but also recognize the interconnectedness that all of us have, not only with the stories of our faith, but how we can inspire and get people connected or reconnected and re-inspired about what we are doing in congregations and in outreach ministries. It's all about relationships. It's always about relationships. The relationships that we build, the relationships that we have had over time, the relationships that we no longer seem to have, but people are still connected with us, are great opportunities to have a re-engagement into the great work that congregations and missions and outreach ministries are doing across the country on behalf of the United Church of Canada. Why do people give? People give for a variety of reasons, but most specifically, people give to ministries because they believe in what it is that you're doing. When you believe in the ministry, when you believe in the outreach ministry, when you believe in the mission that you're supporting, people want to be engaged in that. But to be engaged in that requires communicating with them. They also give to things where there's a high regard for the leadership that is practicing and offering ministry. And they also give to those institutions, those congregations, ministries, whatever you name, that show that they practice good fiscal responsibility. Stewardship is discipleship, and we as disciples of Christ need to reawaken the full breadth of discipleship that we share. All year round, all the time, is what we talk about in terms of stewardship. Imagine if you only prayed once or twice a month in church, or you only sang one hymn a month. If there was only a sermon 6 times a year, we would think, what are we missing here? Well, it's the same thing with stewardship. I've run into this in the past many times, as well as many of my colleagues, and maybe you in your own experience in a community of faith. Stewardship, we might have a stewardship Sunday, and that's it for the year, and that's all the time we spend upon it. But if we have weekly gatherings throughout the year, stewardship needs to be a part of our every time that we gather around, part of the ethos of who we are. Giving connects, it frees, it transforms people. It's an expression of our love, our relationships, and our connection with the divine. And generosity is one of the most important spiritual practices that we can grow into. We've heard it said time and again, there's joy in giving. That can be out in the community in one area or another, can be to an individual that's going through a hard time. But when people are really connected with what you are doing and they want to be a part of it, there's a great deal of joy that comes out of that. I'm just going to skip that slide there. So how do we increase generosity within the context of our specific ministries? One, inspire. I heard about telling stories as part of the grant writing process. Stories, pictures, videos, sharing how it is that your community or your ministry or your project is inspiring and absolutely changing and transforming the lives of others excites people, and they want to be engaged within that. Second, actually, invite. Inviting is so important in terms of good stewardship practices. If we never invite someone to share in what is going on, then they're not going to know, or they're not going to feel valued. Becoming involved, having a sense of belonging is so important, and people engage within that. And lastly, you have to thank people. Thank people for their generosity. You can never thank people too often for their generosity and what they are offering in all the different forms of stewardship that are a part of our ministries. So with that being said, within the chat, I will be posting my email as the Stewardship Program Coordinator. If you have any questions about stewardship or the programming that we do, I'd be happy to correspond with you and provide you some other contact details. So as we are going forward, and Kathy gave me 5 minutes to get all this in, I invite us to share in prayer. Let us pray. As each and every day unfolds, O God, with all of the promises of hope, with all of the plans that we have, and the desires and longings for ministry, we commit to joining in your divine mission, a mission of advocacy for justice, of exercising compassion, loving without reserve, working for peace, extending understanding, affording second chances, offering our generous best, being witnesses to the blessings that are shared in our communities, seizing opportunities for gratitude, changing what can be changed, and embodying the body, the love, and the way of Christ, in whose spirit we live, move, and have our being, in whose love we are made whole and known, and in whose compassion we bathe for all our days. To God, Christ, and Spirit we pray. Amen.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. This ends our presentation, but like I said, those who wish to stay on a little longer, feel free. Otherwise, we're